Hey everyone, today for art class we're going to be making a tissue paper vase, a great start to any Thanksgiving table centerpiece. Here's the supplies you'll need today. Newspaper to protect your table from glue, a paintbrush, white liquid glue, an empty glass jar. This happens to be a pasta sauce jar. I washed it, dried it, and took the label off. You can use any sort of glass jar you may have on hand. And it's okay if it's got the residue on it from the sticker because we're going to be covering it up. And colored tissue paper. I got these packets from the dollar store and they work really well for this project. The first thing I'm going to do is put down the newspaper to protect my table from glue. Now I'm going to pull out the tissue paper I'm going to use. Since this is fall themed, I'm going to use red and yellow. Now I'm just going to rip up smaller pieces of the yellow tissue paper and put them in a pile. You can make big pieces or small pieces and any shape you like. My shapes aren't very identical and that's okay because that's what I'm going for. I'm looking for a more random look. As you'll see, no two pieces look alike. Go ahead and rip up a good amount of pieces. If you have too many, you can recycle them later, or if you don't have enough, you can always rip up more pieces later. Now do the same to the red tissue paper. Now we can start decorating the jar. As I said earlier, any empty glass jar will do. You just want to make sure it's washed, dried, and the label's taken off. And it's okay if the residue is left on from the sticker, because we're going to cover it. Now go ahead and put a little liquid glue onto your jar. Then with my paintbrush, I'm going to paint the glue smooth. You want to just do a small area at a time or else the glue will dry before you can put the tissue paper on. Now to apply the tissue paper, gently place it where you want and tap it down. I'm going to alternate placing red and yellow to give it a cool design. I'm also going to overlap all the pieces slightly to give it that third color as well as cover the whole jar. As you can see, red's overlapping red and yellow's overlapping yellow, and that's okay. I'm just placing the tissue paper where I think the design looks best. When you covered the space you've glued, go ahead and add some more glue and paint it flat. Remember, you're only gluing a little bit at a time because the glue may dry and the tissue paper won't stick. When you've brushed out the glue, go ahead and add some more tissue paper. Make sure you're overlapping the pieces and alternating colors. Continue this process until the entire jar is covered in tissue paper. So now that the jar is covered in tissue paper, we need to glue down these little flaps that are all over the place. Similar to the previous step, we're going to put glue on top of the tissue paper and we're going to brush it down flat. This will glue all those flaps down flat. You want to be careful in that you want to brush the glue in the direction the flap is going. Since these flaps can go in the opposite directions, you want to try to pay attention which way the tissue paper is laying. If you brush in the opposite direction of the tissue paper, it may bunch up, and that's okay, but you want to try to make your vase as smooth as possible, so you want to try to brush in the direction of the tissue paper. You also may notice some white patches on your tissue paper from the glue. That's okay, it's going to dry clear, so don't worry about it. Also, like in the previous step, you want to make sure to glue only part of the vase at a time. This will help you spread all the glue evenly before it dries. Continue painting the entire vase with glue until it's covered. Once the entire jar is covered in glue, it's going to have to dry. Your jar, like mine, may have gotten glue on the bottom, so the best way to dry this is to stand it up on its opening. This way it'll dry completely without sticking to anything. And here's the finished product. It's all ready to be filled with flowers for your Thanksgiving feast centerpiece. Here's how I filled mine to give you some examples of how yours could look. And here's some other examples of vases you can make using the same technique. You can use different shaped jars and different colors of tissue paper. I hope you have fun making your own tissue paper vase, and thanks for watching.